of you? Got a little bit of rain, but not anything more than a dusting.
That's what I've been getting. Lois got over an inch. When I went up there yesterday, all of her puddles, some of them were full from clear woods to woods.
Yeah. Went to work for Culp's as a roofing supervisor and fell off and broke my back, and that was the beginning of the downfall of Roger.
Yeah.
That was in 2011, June 29th, 7 o'clock in the morning. Third week in July of 2013, I was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer, which I'm still fighting. This is July, this is the third week in July 2016.
Yeah.
But I'm doing good, you know. I mean, my feet are getting a lot better, and I can tell the difference. I still can't wear shoes very long, and I may never ever be able to wear shoes again like I did, but I think that, not in a nutshell, but in a nutshell, that takes us up to today, and so we can...
Well, and I was in rehab in Appleton with my first knee replacement, and I got a telephone call from Lisa about 6 o'clock in the evening, and she says, "Grandma, what hospital is Roger in?" And I says, "What do you mean, what hospital is Roger in? What happened?" "Oh, well, he fell off of the roof and got hurt, and I was just wondering, I didn't know what hospital he was in." Well, I guess you know I about had a heart attack because they never told me that you fell. They were going to wait to see how you came through surgery and how you were...
Well, I was out of surgery by 6 o'clock at night, but...
Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know you didn't know anything about it. The truck comes into Green Lake with peaches and blueberries just like they did at Adams. So I got fresh peaches to send home with you.
Love you, man.
Yeah, you too.
And they took me off of Traxatone last 2 weeks ago tomorrow, because it was killing the nerves in my feet. You know that in my spine, my temperature regulator in my feet don't work anymore.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why going barefoot this time of year is my only option. I got flip-flops that I wear.
Right.
2 weeks. If I start in 2 weeks, I'll be surprised. My PSA is going up.
Good thing this isn't time sensitive.
Yeah, like take your meds so you can start getting some cancer treatment. You and I have talked about moving up from Indiana, and then, you know, I was born in '55, and so my first 8 years were down on the prairie.
So I was expecting you when we moved up from Indiana. We got here the 22nd of February was the first night that we actually stayed in Wisconsin. It was cold, and you were born in June, and it was warm and no running water. We had moved from a house with bathroom and furnace and everything in Indiana to a house with a round oak stove in the living room and no running water and an outhouse when you were, I guess you were maybe close to 2, and all of the kids were out in the front yard playing softball, and Lois was batting, and you ran up behind her when she swung the bat, made a Y-shaped scar in the middle of your forehead, and normal growing up things. we had a granary out by the house, and you raised rabbits, and all of you were in 4-H, and Dad went out on the road driving truck because we couldn't make a living just on the farm because the ground was so depleted. And so one day you were out playing and nobody was really watching you, and then somebody went to find you, and here was King holding you by the diaper. You had decided you were going to go to the woods, and he held you by the diaper till we came and got you so you couldn't get out of the yard. And one time you disappeared, and everybody looked and looked. We couldn't figure where on earth you were. We were just ready to call the police and people to come and help search for you, and somebody went in the house, and here you had crawled down beside of the refrigerator and went to sleep.
How old was I when we moved up here? 6?
You were 8. You were going into 3rd grade. Lori was in 1st grade, and Tim was in kindergarten. The first year we moved up here, it was 1965. We moved.
How old was Karen and Larry?
Karen was 4 years older than you. She graduated from 8th grade from Grand Marsh. And then you kids started in Brooks, and so Larry was 2 years older than her. So she would have been 12. Larry would have been 14, and Lois would have been 16.
Yeah, I remember getting the cows in, and the milk cans that we strained the milk into and then put them in a horse tank. What a dumb idea. Whoever dreamed that up. But at the time...
Because that's the way we cooled our milk when I was growing up. Only we had a cement tank built into the milk house that held 4 10-gallon cans, and we had an overflow pipe, and we'd run the water in, and then when it got up so high, then it would run outside, and that cold water just kept going till the milk got cold.
Took forever to cool a can of milk off. I started going after school out in the woods hunting every night. And then when we got those horses, then I would take Big Red and I ran my trap line in our woods and then over in, you know, the pine plantation. And then after the horses were gone, which we boarded in the winter, then I would get home from school and strap on my snowshoes and grab that great big long 30-30 that Dad had bought and just go make a loop to the back of the woods and out to Rashke's and back almost every night. I remember Danny and those guys coming up and shooting rats in the granary before I turned it into a rabbitry.
Yeah.
And Larry throwing stones at cows and hitting me in the side of the head and going in for stitches and falling off the tractor and getting stitches back here in my head and
stubbing your toe. You always had the end of your toe stubbed off. Both of them, their big toes always had the end of them stubbed off.
I don't know how that happened.
Well, because you went barefooted and you never walked any place. You always ran, and you were always stubbing your toe on a stone or something and knocking the hide off.
When I ran high hurdles in the track and ran the 440 and was in football and wrestling and
band. You were
drummer. One of the two.
Yeah, you were first chair on drums.
Senior skip day, we went over to Grand Marsh and started playing basketball, and old lady Wade came out and said, "You guys can't be here. You're supposed to be in school. Get out of here." So we came here and played basketball in the haymow. This was all after we'd gone to the rapids to get our tuxes and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know who prom king was that year. Might have been Chafee. But I took Terry Masson. And I worked for Herb, learned how to lay blocks and brick and build garages, and that was the beginning of my construction career.
Yeah, that was.
So,
You got a doctor's appointment on Tuesday also,
Tuesday
right?
I'm getting a cortisone shot in this shoulder. That's all that's going on. Nothing else can be done.
So you're not taking any cancer medicine?
No. Well, it is what it is. I'm not worried about it. Okay. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Keep the doggies rolling. I'm a maintenance guy at the local animal shelter. This board is going to be a piece of countertop. I have to put backsplash on this, just like a regular countertop that you would buy. I put backsplash on this and edge trim. I have to take wood and plane it down. I'm self-taught on woodworking and stuff like this. 15 years of my life was given to the state of Wisconsin as a state patrol trooper. I started my training the 7th of July 1983. I left the state patrol in May of 1998. This is my graduating class. I don't know how many we started with, but attrition was pretty high. During the course of my career, I received awards, I received complaints. People are not happy when they get stopped. All the complaints were found unjustified. They didn't like my attitude or the way I talked to them, or they weren't used to having a state trooper in Taylor County is about what it amounted to. Some of the things that I found satisfying were compliments from my supervisors. So I'm going to just present letters of, they're just called performance reports on a job well done. So I'm going to present some of those. During 1993, you made 45 DWI arrests. Good job, keep up the good work. This one says in 1986 you made 38 DWI arrests. This one says on a traffic stop, a letter was sent to my supervisor saying that the individual was impressed with my courtesy and professionalism. So my conduct in the matter from my supervisor was keep up the good work. On the weekend of June in 1985, a certain weekend, I removed 4 drunk drivers from the road. If you remove a dangerous driver, then you remove the possibility that he hurts himself or someone else. Roger, in the 2-day period from September 30th to October 1st, you removed 6 drunk drivers for operating while intoxicated. Your alertness for this most serious violation is indeed having a positive influence on adding to the safety of Wisconsin highways. Be assured that your efforts in this area have been noted and are greatly appreciated. Good job. In reading these again for the first time after 30 years, and a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment, a sense of doing my duty. I sure looked forward to the pancake breakfast at 4 o'clock in the morning, because I'd go into the jail and cook pancakes for everybody, and we screwed around a lot. Got to admit, I love Taylor County because I could go anywhere, national forest, anywhere I wanted to go, and it was cool. I mean, they trusted me. They just let me go where I wanted to go and do what I wanted to do. These are our exercise shorts. They're a little small. 32nd recruit class. State patrol number was 983. I was the 983rd trooper ever since 1936. I'm not sure when this picture was taken, but that's me. Probably weighed 180 pounds, 190 pounds. Guys from District 6 shot perfect scores with their pistols. And you start at 7 yards and you shoot clear back to 50 yards with a short barrel pistol. And the center of the target is not much bigger than this picture. 280 out of 300 is a sharpshooter. So you're not expert until you shoot 300. Here's my first expert award. 50 bullets in a target, you know, this big. And even from 50 yards. There's a different course for your pistol called a combat course. Possible on that is 100. Sharpshooter 294 out of 300. And this is my license to arrest people. I was a speed computer operator, which is a time and distance computer, and so many lights equal so many inches. So the car measures the distance, the driver measures the time. Laser operator. Laser goes out at 186,000 miles per second, just like radar. I was involved in 3 life saves. A baby, a woman that had overdosed on alcohol, and then this girl here. I wasn't supposed to be at either of the other 2. The call came in and I just went without getting permission from headquarters to assist the city it was in the city on both of them, so they just kind of happened. A girl had a head-on collision. You don't really think about what you're doing. You react in the way you were trained. So just in my mind, I walked up and saw the situation with her being kind of twisted against the driver's seat. When I got this gentleman to get her neck stabilized, she did have her eyes closed, but just shards of glass, you know, just microscopically thin, like you threw glitter on her. So I brushed lightly and I blew on her eyes, and I said to her, "Don't open your eyes. Whatever you do, don't open your eyes." She didn't say much. I asked her where it hurt. She said her leg. That's all she could talk about was her leg. You got to get that leg stabilized so it doesn't flop around. Sounds gross, but I mean, that's what it was. You can't have that foot flopping around. So I was able to get that boot cast on her, and it's an air splint simply because it's a bag. You put it over her foot, you put it over her leg, and you blow it up as hard as you can, and you put the cap on it. I had her all packaged up, ready to go on the hardboard when they got there. So it made their job easier and faster, and getting her to the hospital faster where she could receive treatment. I did have contact with her later after she healed up. Obviously, this is not the next day. You know, when we took this picture at the courthouse, it's not the next day. It was like a year later almost. Yeah. We gotta take a break. Shut her down. How do you unwind from a situation like that? I didn't have to unwind. I wasn't wound up. I live on stress. I thrive on stress. To unwind from that, I did everything I could. I did the best for this girl that I could do for her. You know, the rest is in God's hands. But now I've got an accident to investigate. We need to know the facts on who was where, how fast were they going, stuff like that. That's what you uncover in a reconstruction. So now I have to go into accident investigation mode. And well, it ended up being that the offending vehicle driver was trying to read a map, cross the center line, and hit her. I didn't have anything to do with reporting this as a life save. It was all done by her and her mom. I got a nice write-up in the paper. The state of Wisconsin gave me a certificate again for a life save. So then the governor gives me a nice plaque that says you saved a life. An accident happened on Highway 29, and the mom and two kids were in the seat of a small pickup loaded up with junk, and there was a 9-year-old girl that was riding up here on this pile of junk. They hit something, I don't even remember what, but the only thing that got me was that girl went forward. She had flail chest, which means that all of her bones were broken, her sternum was split. There's nothing you could do for her, but because of the stupidity of her, whoever was driving and the situation, killed her. And that one haunts me. I don't know why, but that one haunts me. I have PTSD from the State Patrol. I still have nightmares. Not as often anymore, but about 5 years ago, they were pretty often. I wanted to show this picture. my kids and my wife and everybody are on the front row, it's my turn to get my plaque. On the 50th anniversary of the State Patrol, they gave all the troopers belt buckles with the anniversary date. And this is a badge that I got when I retired, given to me by the Troopers Association. My WSP number 983 on the bottom. An A part, a compartmentalized part, what's the residue from having been a trooper for 15 years? It took me about 6 years to quit reaching for the radar button when I'd see a speeder coming. For the first 5 years or 6 years after I retired, I'd go into the sheriff's department and the guys would just flock around me. I mean, the people are the good part of the job. Camaraderie of having people around you that have experienced and experience every day what you went through. I stopped a guy for drunk driving. He rolls out of his car and he's got his hand behind his back. I'm parked probably 15 feet behind him. So I'm screaming at the guy, "Get your hand out where I can see it." Pretty soon I pull my pistol and put it on him. He gets within 6 feet of me and his hand comes out behind his back. Man, I am ready to waste this dude. He pulls his wallet out. I holster my gun and I throw him over the hood of my car and I'm just screaming at him. "Do you know how close you came to getting killed? Didn't you hear me tell you to get your hand out from behind your back?" That's the only time that I pulled my weapon. I never shot anybody or shot at anybody. I had the opportunity to shoot at a guy, but I chose not to. The PTSD is not probably from things that you would think. It was nightmares about me not checking in on time, or I went outside and my car is missing. You know, my car is gone. After 15 years, my car is gone, and so that's a big part. The things that made me a good trooper made me a bad person in dealing with all that crap all the time and being in control. Being in control. You gotta be in control. You gotta control people. You can't let them out of their cars. Made me horrible. Made me horrible to live with. Everything, I had to control everything. You're home from town at this time, you do this, you do that. And women aren't going to put up with that. I mean, Betty's a saint for having put up with that for all those years. But it's something that we do need to talk about. It made me a terrible father. He's going to get emotional again, but I would say that, you know, I'm sorry that I was so strict and didn't allow you to express yourself. There was no talking in the car. If I was driving, there was no talking in the car. I couldn't put up with this, with chatter. I really have a hard time with that still today, but I'm getting better in just letting kids be kids, and it helps that I get my grandkids for babysitting, to let them be their own person, make mistakes. But that's the biggest thing, is basically to apologize, you know. But my relationship with my kids is good.
I was attending a ladies' Bible study and kind of complaining about how few single Christian men there were in the area. And one of the ladies that was attending the Bible study's husband was a state trooper, and she said, "Oh, there's a new trooper that just moved into the area." She was talking about Roger, and he had started attending First Baptist Church. And I said, "Well, you know, is he tall and kind of lanky?" And she said, "Yeah, I'd be fine with him calling me." So we talked on the phone for quite a while and then decided to go out for supper and do some Christmas shopping for our kids. We did some shopping together, one of the few times we've ever shopped together.
In 30 years.
In 30 years. Probably it was our third date. Roger told me that we were going to get married. It wasn't like, would you like to marry me? It was, kind of made
A given.
A given. And I had already been praying about it and, just really felt that we had a lot in common and our faith was the same, and that was very important to both of us. So April 20th, we were married.
1985.
1985. 4 months from the time we met till we were married. Amber was 6, Ben was 4, and Emily was 2. We didn't realize the challenges that were going to face us. Mistakes were made. We did things wrong, and through grace and mercy, it all works out in the end. The main key in keeping a marriage together is, number one, commitment to each other, commitment to Christ, and forgiveness. Forgive in the way that Christ forgave you.
She's very loving, forgiving, likes to keep a relatively clean house. She's not a cleanie, which would drive me crazy. A cleanie would be running around vacuuming every day, and that would just drive me up the wall because I'm a messy. An organized messy. Organized the way I want things to be. I have a table that sits here, and I have the stuff on that table and in that table and my writing. I have a board with a base on it, like an easel that I can put in my lap. I like things where I like them, and I don't like them messed with. Don't be moving my stuff. I don't move your stuff too much. But I don't know, like I say, I can't remember a lot of stuff, but I know looking back that I was hard to live with. We talked about the state patrol stuff and being a control freak, and I did it to my own children. You can never take back what you did or said, but my relationship with my kids now is awesome. I tried to re-tap a hole that stripped out when I put the impact on it to put the brakes back together. I don't think I'm going to get in here with this. And no, I'm not. I need a bigger wheel. It would rub on the caliper, so I have to cut it off. And I use that bolt here. Then on this other side, I'm going to have to go to town and buy a couple more tabs. See if I can't get those threads chased out, because right now I ran a bolt down there and it's just this grade 8 bolt. It just eats the threads right up, so that's not going to work. I have to somehow get it tapped out so that I can run clean threads down through there.
He had been experiencing some pain, and so I went with him to the doctor's appointment. My challenge to the urologist was that there was something not right. He had kind of dismissed it to, oh yeah, well, it's just part of the back, issue, and Roger accepted it like he had so many things already. And I sat there and I said, no, something's wrong. There's something wrong here and you need to check. So they did a PSA test, and then they called us and said, yes, your PSA is very high. You need to come in. The doctor said that the prostate was completely full of cancer. At the time of diagnosis, he was already stage 4. Do we trust the Lord that the Lord has a plan? And I had time already to start thinking about, okay, my husband has cancer. How am I going to deal with that? And it's always a matter of laying it back at Christ's feet and saying, okay, Lord, I don't understand this. This isn't the choice I would choose, no more than him falling off the roof, but I know you have a plan. And so let us be a witness to who you are and your strength through this situation. And that's how we continue through it. Yeah, I get scared, probably more than anything. Being without him. Then what is my life going to be without him? And I don't know what that is. But when that comes, then I will do the same thing. I will lay it at the feet of Christ. I'm sad that some of his grandchildren may not know him, and to know the good man that he is. The core of Roger loves the Lord, and you know, we all have things that we do wrong, but that's the man I fell in love with.
Well, the block is still in the Mustang out there, but it's a souped up 302. I got the heads done with bigger valves, double springs, 5-angle valve grind, and then any of these pieces, if you picked them up, I could tell you where they go and what they do. I've torn apart motors and rebuilt motors and changed motors and transmissions and stuff like that. Pretty much since I was 20 years old. Give me a motor in a box and I can put it together for you.
He wants to take care of me. He wants to make sure that I have what I need. We've built 2 homes. We've totally remodeled this house. You know, that's his provider. His concern is now our current vehicle that I drive is kind of getting older, and he wants to make sure before he gets really sick that I have a proper vehicle so that I'm provided for and I'm cared for.
You're gonna be a flat work finisher. That's a nice one.
Roger's romance. I would say, you know, when we think about the things that he's not romantic. Okay, he does things that sometimes are, you know, he's not the light the candles make the supper kind of guy. Okay.
Love you too, man. And I gotta say about Larry that if you need help, he's the man to call, one of the men to call, because these guys will be there to do whatever needs to be done. Just a semi-load,
Yeah.
12 cord we
Just
did
a
it
semi-load. It
Just
was
a semi-load, yeah.
cut,
in
split, and
four-
stacked all
cut,
in
split, and
one.
stacked.
4 hours. I think 20 people came, and some didn't come right away, and some left, and unbelievable.
just wanted to study God's Word. We wanted to be able to meet as a group of believers, study God's Word, and apply it to our lives.
I want to thank Roger for witnessing to my brother David when we were building his house. We spent a lot of hours on that house, and I know you spent a lot of time talking to him one-on-one when I wasn't there, and I'm very thankful.
You guys have helped us split wood and all that, and it's part of who we are as a group of believers.
Because I really, really do appreciate all the people in our church.
Fishing. And
trips to Canada.
Trips to Canada.
Trips to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Building houses.
Building houses.
Jerry and Sue have been our friends, and I mean everybody here, but Jerry and Sue probably we spent the most amount of time with outside of church. The friendship and our mutual belief is very important to us.
Yes. We even had some good Bible studies at your place.
Randy and I were just talking about that.
Yeah.
There's nobody here that I couldn't call. And you two are probably the first ones I would call, because it is. Our friendship has been very important to Roger and I, and I know it will continue to be.
Driving into Stetsonville one time, and there was the state trooper behind me pulling me over, and my heart's and then I think Roger comes up to the vehicle and said, "It's my birthday today."
One time Roger worked with my son, I said, I hope you're giving them the good word, the good news every day you're working with them, because Roger doesn't just wear it on his cuff. He usually speaks his mind on the salvation message. He's a sinner, saved by the grace of God. He has an eternal life guaranteed to him. And I think Roger thinks like I do, that his friends and family, that's the greatest gift he has. And he would pray that every one of his friends and family would have that same fellowship with Jesus Christ that he shares.
It is the 15th of July, 2017. I've lost a lot of muscle mass because my body was basically eating itself to stay alive. So that's where the 27 pounds of weight went. But now I'm doing well. Other than those 3 months, I had a good year. My lymph nodes have shrunk and my cancer is quiet. Just take one day at a time. I've had 2 friends die of cancer in the last 2 years. They were a blessing to me in their faith and the way they held on to it and the way that they trusted Christ. He will take us home when we die. They're both ready to go and be with Him. And you rarely know what effect you have on other people. Sometimes you never know. My empathy for other people is that they know Jesus Christ. It's given me boldness to go forth and just to talk to people. Do you know Christ as your Savior? I never was an empathetic person. I locked myself in a shell, didn't have much emotion. That's changed that. I have emotion now. I cry for people. He touched my heart. He made me empathetic. The way I see myself now is a loving grandfather. I have 8 grandchildren I love to death. And having been a hard man, I've learned that to these children, they just need time with Grandpa and Grandma. She does whatever I need to have done. She takes good care of me. She's always taken good care of me. I just cherish her because I don't know, but I don't know another woman that would be that empathetic. And she loves me to death. I'm much closer to my family. Somewhat surprised at their reaction of love to me, and it's really been a good thing. My family almost across the board, and I love them for it.